I was in second grade when the first person in my life told me that I wasn't good at math. I was really struggling with regrouping, and my 7-year-old's brain couldn't understand that when adding 5 plus 6, the 1 needed to be carried over. I sat across my frustrated second grade teacher as I tried my hardest to understand the concept. I still remember the furrows in her brows becoming deeper and deeper as her patience with me was growing extremely thin. She looked at me and she said, "You're really struggling with this and you aren't too good at this. I think we should move you to another math class." She wanted to move me to a math class with a slower pace of instruction, a math class we referred to at this time as the lower math class. Immediately after that conversation, she walked me through the winding hallways to my new math class. As I was trailing behind her, I remember thinking to myself, why do I need to move to an entirely different math class just because I didn't understand one concept? When I arrived at my new math class, I noticed a striking difference. Most of the kids in that math class looked like me. Most of the kids in that math class were black and brown kids. This was a stark contrast from me being the only black girl in my previous math class. This was the first time that I internalized and I adopted the false belief that not only was I not good at math, but people who look like me were also not good at math. Therefore, no matter how hard I tried, I would never be good at math. It took me years to identify this limiting belief and finally rise above it. I was born to Nigerian immigrants who moved to LA in search of a better life for their family. My parents' life journey from their villages in Nigeria to the US proved to me that I can do anything that I wanted to do as long as I put in the hard work. Although at home I was told that the sky was the limit, my classroom environment never reflected that reality. And it was a blow to my confidence. Despite my poor experiences in STEM classrooms, at home I loved to experiment. My family got our first computer when I was in elementary school, and I would rush back home in order to play with it. I loved classes that focused on tech, but when I expressed interest in these areas, I was told to stick to what I would succeed in. I remember one time in particular, I was talking to my high school Model UN teacher, and I was picking classes with him. I told him that I was super interested in taking this new computer science class that was being offered. He looked at me and he said, "I don't think that would be a good idea. I think we should stick to what we'll succeed in." I genuinely thought that at the time that my teachers were looking out for me. I thought that they wanted the best for me. But now I look back at all those people who told me that I couldn't or I shouldn't, and I know that they were just imposing their own limiting beliefs onto me. In my senior year of high school, I was awarded the Posse Foundation Scholarship, which sent me all the way from Los Angeles, California to Dickinson College in Pennsylvania. I was so stoked to go to college because I thought I would never have to take another science or math class again. So I spent my freshman year taking all these different classes, trying to find where my passion lied, only to figure out by the end of it, I didn't really like the classes that I was taking. So I was talking about this situation with my mentor, Ralph, in the library one day. Ralph was 2 years older than me and was also in Posse. Ralph had immigrated to the US when he was in 3rd grade from the Philippines. I was telling Ralph about my situation that I really wanted to study computer science, but I was so scared because everyone in my life had told me that I wouldn't do well in that space. Ralph listened attentively and then told me his own story. Ralph told me about how his physics teacher in high school told him that if he majored in physics in college, that he would fail. Ralph told me how his high school was extremely underfunded, and despite all these setbacks, he was set to graduate the next year in physics. After telling me his story, Ralph looked at me and he said the words that would really change my life. He told me, "Amara, if I listened to every person who told me that I couldn't do things, I would not be where I am today. Do not let people dictate your future." It was like a light bulb switched on for me, and I finally understood that I did not have to be held back by my limiting beliefs. Right there in that library, Ralph and I signed up for my first computer science class. I instantly fell in love with computer science, and while I was studying that semester, I also applied for the Jeff Ubben Fellowship. The Ubben Fellowship pairs those selected with a major industry leader for a summer internship. I thought I had a really slim chance considering I'd only been studying computer science for 2 months, but I thought, hey, let's just give it a shot, and gave it my all. I ended up being selected as one of the 5 scholars for the Ubben Fellowship after months of interviewing. My host for the summer was Microsoft CEO, Satya Nadella. Interning in the office of the CEO taught me that I didn't need to be left out of the tech space due to my differences, but it showed me that the reason that I belong in the tech space is to advocate for people who may have a similar background to me. People like Ralph encouraged me and gave me the catalyst for my growth. But most importantly, I learned that the most important person to believe in is yourself.